All right, everyone. So here we are. We're taking a look at a second Twilight photo shot at the same time as last video's Twilight photo. So this was the same site visit. And if you had skipped past the last video, I had a client get in touch last minute. They wanted some drone aerial photos and they wanted them at Twilight for this particular home that's going to be going up for sale. So what we're looking at right now, number one, this was shot with a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. And this image is actually a raw image. So this is what the raw photo looks like coming right out of the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, some of the newer drones offer, more dynamic range and their JPEGs look great and the JPEGs that come out of the Mavic 2 Pro look great. But I still like working with raw files because I have a little more flexibility, a little more range to work with as well. So let's see what we can do with this one right now. It's looking a little rough. We had some pretty interesting clouds. There was a lot of cloud cover. The sun is actually at my back where sunset's occurring. And it was not one of those bright orange, red, yellow types of sunsets that we get here in Arizona. It was a much cooler sunset, which kind of crazy, but absolutely true. So there was a lot of blues and a lot of purples going on. And looking out toward where sunset was, there's even more of that. But we're working with showing off the home here because that's what we're doing for the client. So I am going to, number one, get into the develop module. By the way, you'll notice that the little pop-up window with me in the lower right-hand corner screen is gone. I don't want that blocking out your view for any of the editing tools that we have here. So first off, we're gonna go into the basic editor, of course. I'm just zooming in here for you to see that. So there's our basic editor right in there. And this one is looking a little cool. So maybe overall, we want to warm this up a little bit, actually. And let's see what happens. Yeah, no, that's going too far. But we're just adding a little more warmth. And if I didn't like that, I can double click the temp again. And it brings me back down to 6950. But let's go ahead and warm that up just a little. And I think for the moment, I'm satisfied with that. Now, you'll notice that we've got some lights down here. We're going to work with the front of the home in just a little bit. But first, let's start dealing with things overall. Number one, I'm going to drop the highlights. And that did a lot with the sky. So you can see, yeah, there's a lot of overcast going on. And maybe dropping the highlights down by that much was a bit much. I'm going to bring that back up. And I'm also going to pull the shadows up just a bit here too. Maybe we'll go to like plus 40 here. And yeah, that's looking okay to me right now. Let me double click the whites here real quick. Popped up the whites just a little bit and pulled the blacks back down a touch. We're going to add some clarity to this as well. I think plus 20 will be fine. And we're going to add just a little bit of vibrance as well. So maybe plus 15. So we're already improving on the overall scene. And just to be sure, down here in the lower left-hand side, we've got YY to compare before and after. Let's take a look at the differences so far. So definitely bringing things up in the foreground a little more, getting around some of those shadows. So that's looking pretty good to me. And now, what would I like to do next? Now, maybe I'll push those shadows up just a bit more. Maybe even plus 60, and that's looking pretty good. It's also getting a lot of the shadowed areas under this little gazebo area where they've got a cool grill and things going on, and it's brightened up the front of the home a little bit, so that's good. One of the next things that I'd like to do in here is I'm actually going to grab a mask, and we could select the sky here again. So there it goes. It's now selected the sky for us. And let's do one quick thing here. I'd like to do some dehaze in there, maybe to about plus 20. And, this was accurate. So we did have some good color going on, and then we started losing some of the color. But, this is the reality of time of day we were shooting and what kind of cloud cover we have. So I think that that's looking a good bit better. Let's see in here. So we popped up that dehaze just a bit. And how about if we were to warm the sky? Let's give it a try. So if I'm warming it, oh, that's not quite it either, is it? So I'm going to dial that back just a bit here. Maybe we'll warm it to about plus 10. And what if we move the tint over toward the magenta side here? Because there were some purples going on in the sky as well. So maybe, let's see if we take this too far. Yeah, that's way too far. And let's pull that back. Maybe just a little bit of tint in there. Once again, this was not one of the best shots in this series. We've got some other better ones that we work with, but you know, clouds are moving all the time. So this is something that you actually have to work with as well. Now, I'm going to continue here for a few moments with the masking tool, because what I'd like to do is I would like to get in here and actually make it look like these lights are kicking off even a little more light into the walkways and things here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another new mask, and we're going to do this as a brush tool, okay? And so there's my brush tool right here. I can make it really big, really small. By the way, I have the flow set to only 50 right now. So if we need to do a second pass, we can. So one of the things I was thinking in here is just to brighten up this walkway just a little bit, not massively. You know, let's punch it up real quick so that we can see where we're brushing. And then we can come back over into this mask and adjust things. So I'm going to also warm this just a bit. And let's zoom in here, make that a little bigger. And we can see now, yes, we're brushing some light into there. And we're also going to bring some of that light into that gazebo area. And let's be careful. I don't want to overdo things. I'm going to grab the hand tool and maybe let's come into here, brighten that a little bit more, because there was a lot of light kicking off out of this gazebo area. And that light was kicking off everywhere. So, you know, brightness can go out just a little bit more. Now, overall, so we did this on the same mask. So let's see, I changed the exposure to 1. Now, let's go ahead and punch it up to 2. See, look at that. It's getting all blown out. Let's bring that back down. And maybe 0.6 will be, let's go with 0.7 actually. And so let's take a look into here again. And that's looking all right to me. We can also hide that mask if we want to, but let's do the auto mask really quick. Oh, nope. I don't want to do the auto mask really quick. Let's take a look back up in here. And if we were to, let's say, drop the color temperature, now it goes all blue. So definitely don't want that. All of these are warm tones coming out of here. And I'm going to zoom that back. And I think maybe that's gotten a little too bright. Maybe I overdid it. So let's just bring that down to 0.5. And that's looking all right to me. One of the things we can do here, I'm going to close the mask tool really quick. And let's do that before and after again. And let's look into that area where we've got more light kicking off. There we go. That's looking all right to me. Once again, I'm just cruising along here. This is not my #1 favorite photo from the shoot, but it is an interesting one and a challenge to work with. One of the other things that I'm going to do, let's go back up and make one more new mask. I'm just going crazy with masks here. And once again, we've got the brush tool. And what I would like to do is just get a little more light out of all of that porch lighting. So I'm going to do the exposure up 0.5, and we will just warm it even a little more because those are very warm lights. I'm changing the size here, and that right there is brightening up that area nicely. Let's do the same with this patio light right here. We don't have another patio light in this area, but right in here, I'm going to shrink this down to brighten that up just a little bit more. Same with this one. So we definitely see that there's good lighting outside, and that's looking pretty nice to me. And maybe the foreground could actually come up even a little more. So we'll take a look at that in exposure in just a couple of moments. Where did we start and where are we at now? Let's go ahead and close this one down, and let's go ahead and take a look at the difference. So we've definitely popped up the front of the porch area more. You can see that those lights are going on. There wasn't much light coming out of these windows at this time. They had some big window shades on here. And there's a little more detail to the clouds. And unfortunately, once again, you know, we don't always get that perfect Arizona sunset. But I think that this one has come along really nicely for me. By the way, over on the left-hand side, we've got our history. So anywhere that we want along our path of doing this, we can actually go back down right back to the initial import all the way through to those last couple of brushes. Now, before we roll this one up, before we wrap it up and pack it away here, I'm going to hit the G key here. And I've actually got for our Patreon channel, I used one of these to make a little advertisement. But so playing around with some of the other colors and things, and presentation, I did several different versions of these photos. And what we finally sent along to the clients, they were very, very happy with. So I'm just scrolling back down here just to give you a feel for a couple of the other shots that we did for the clients at that time. And by the way, so let's take a look at this one. So the porch of the house is right up here. So it's looking, to the northwest, basically. Over to the left-hand side, you can see where the sun's going down. So you can also see, this is the strangeness of colors of this particular sunset for that evening that we were out there. We did get there early as well. So before things were getting really dark, we were also working with a couple of other images on the front end as well. And of course, the sides of the building. So the end of the day, always, sunrise and sunset, these are the best times for photography. Ask any good landscape photographer, they're going to tell you those are their favorite times of day. And same thing can be said with drones, whether it's real estate or landscape photography or anything else. Best times of day, once again, dawn and dusk, because then you can place the sun behind you and you're not shooting into it. And of course, for drone operators, oftentimes our clients are looking for stuff during the midday. They don't want to bother their clients who are selling the homes toward the evening or early morning. But if you want to get some of the most dramatic skies and also some of the best color casts, you want dawn and you want dusk. So even doing things just a little before dusk, you can see big differences as you start moving through when everything is coming together for that sunset. So this particular image really was looking like this. So there was some interesting magentas in there, purples and some blues and aqua blues because of the sunset. And like I said, there was a lot of cloud cover. It was thin cloud cover, but it really cooled everything off. What I'm used to normally in Arizona is those bright red, orange, and yellow sunsets. So having a cool sunset like this was kind of nice as well. By the way, let's take a look at, these are all the JPEGs. So not only did we have DNGs, by the way, I was also doing things with JPEGs. Actually, we can go ahead and turn these off, turn that completely off. So we were bouncing back and forth between JPEG and RAW just to see what we could do with the images. Well, I hope you found this little lesson to be of interest, and we'll be continuing on with some of our drone photo editing series in the near future.